Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims and con artists. We don't like these people in the shows. We believe the best way to expose them is to hold them up to a harsh light, point our index fingers in their general direction and mock them mercilessly, take them down a peg or two until they cease to exist in any other form than the shit on our shoes. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoysted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and this week we are still stuck in Canberra. Got no petrol money. We are just like the huddled masses seeking refuge and shelter around the nation's capital in random little hidey holes. Political refugees to this ridiculous cooker event. We are the victims. Come on, guys. Fucking leave. We want to move on. We've got some great guests lined up. We just want to move on.
Yes, Joe, we haven't got time for this, but they aren't leaving and they keep coming up with very, very funny shit. We can't help that. We are simply here to report the comings, goings and delusional ramblings of these cookers until they leave Canberra or stop being funny. It might be a while yet, as they are very, very funny.
They really are. It's been really good. They've been coming up with some absolute clangers this week, and we'll go through that later in the episode. In the middle bit, there's definitely not like a deeper dive. We're not calling it that anymore.
Still
haven't come up with a good name. It's not called that. It's not called that.
Something else. And if you have any ideas on what we should name that middle bit, drop us a line. In the meantime, I want to ambiguously thank our new patrons. A few of our patrons don't want to be publicly named, and I understand that, so we are playing a little bit safe from here onwards in terms of rolling out the names. But we do want to express our huge gratitude to those willing to pay for our bullshit. Thanks, guys. It really does help.
It does, but that's enough of that. You're going to make free listeners jealous, and I mean, maybe that's actually a good thing. I mean, you know.
Yes, that's what we want.
That is actually what we want. Yeah, there we go. But we can't fuck around with the intro any longer. This is a bloody huge week. We have so much to cover. So let's charge up the LRADs and crack on with the Conditional Release Program's weekly news.
And we kick off our news today with the old axiom that what Canada does, the US of A will copy within weeks and do it better. And that means some big rigs are headed to Washington, D.C., all the way from sunny California. Ooh. The organiser, Maureen Steele, told Newsweek that 1,000 trucks or more are due to assemble at a secret location in Barstow, just out of LA on February 23. Secret location? Barstow is basically a truck stop. You know, you're going to see it. The big rigs will then head due east. Breaker, we got us a convoy. What are they protesting? Oh, fuck all, really. The US does not have vaccine passports, and most states don't have mask mandates for interstate truckers, but they're angry, damn angry. And likely heavily armed as well.
Likely, yeah.
When the convoy gets there, they will be met by Washington, D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department, who said it plans to deploy its civil disturbance units from February 23 to March 1 in preparation for the convoy. That means some horrific quasi-military kit, armoured personnel carriers, and armoured police armed to the back teeth. And will the DC cops deploy the dreaded LRAD and radiate harmless truckers funded by far-right chaos merchants? Should truckers pack sunblock?
Yes, they absolutely
And
should.
the important thing to understand here is national pride is at stake. A little bit like Australia and the hated New Zealand, American truckers can't be seen to be flogged by Canada. So we'll keep an eye out and get back to you on the convoy.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fucking awful spectacle if anything America does is like anything America does is going to be awful. But the one thing that really shits me here, right, is that worldwide, Australia has fallen. We're the totalitarian state. We're the tyrants. Excuse me. Okay, we put a few LRADs on some stands around our nation's capital, and apparently we're like, you know, crushing our populace. Just you wait to see how the Americans do it. The Canadians tiptoed around it until Justin Trudeau did his little, I'm going to make the laws worse. Just you wait till the Americans have to do crowd control. You want to see tyranny? Buckle up. Buckle the fuck up. And in other American news, Jack, we need to go back to the good old days of the 17th century, which in Tennessee turns out to be right now.
Yes. In his latest sermon, Trump-loving far-right pastor Greg Locke of the Global Vision Bible Church in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, claimed that 6 witches have infiltrated his church, and he threatened to expose them. We've got first and last names of 6 witches that are here in our church, said Locke. And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now.
That's not good.
3 of you in the room right now. You better look me in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witches, you devil-worshipping Satanist witches.
fuck.
We cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ. We break your spells. We break your curse. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you.
Oh, wow. Doxed them.
You so much as cough wrong, COVID, that's going to happen. And I'll expose you in front of everybody in this tent, you stinking witch.
Yeah.
Doesn't really understand plurals, Locke. But anyway,
No,
he's going on.
no.
You were sent to this church to destroy us. You were sent to this church to lure us in. You were sent to this church to cast spell. Listen, some of you been sick because you befriended that witch.
No, it's COVID. That's definitely COVID.
2 of you in my wife's ladies' Bible study. Again, not good with the plurals. And you know who you are, and we're going to ask you to get out or I'll expose you in front of everybody, screamed Locke. We got all 6 of their names, all 6 of them, so you got a choice. You can leave with your spells all by yourself, or I'll show up next Sunday with a stage full of brooms, and I'll give you one, and I'll fly your tail up out of this place in the name of Jesus.
That's so good.
But we ain't playing your spell-casting, witchcraft nonsense, sage-burning games.
Amazing.
Now, look, that doesn't sound dangerously unhinged.
No.
For fuck's sake, didn't you ever watch Bewitched? You know, witches are great.
And hot. Apparently, they're very attractive, according to the television show.
Oh, Elizabeth Montgomery, my God.
Just a side note.
Yeah, Locke has attracted national attention after he banned congregants in his church from wearing face masks and held a book burning of Harry Potter and Twilight novels. Book burners are always lovely people, and if you're going to burn a few witches at the stake, what better than a few volumes of Harry Potter books? They're like fucking briquettes, you know? Once you get them going, they just glow for hours.
They're cheaper too. I mean, like, you could probably get them for 20 cents at an op shop. So, I mean, this makes a lot of sense as far as fire instructions goes. And speaking of Trump loving, Eric Trump, who is a good-looking boy, is sad, Jack. He's a very good-looking boy.
Yes, he's back in the news, Joe. By God, it's been a while. The good-looking boy who loves his dad. Love your dad! Appeared on Fox News early this week, on the week ending 19 February, near tears.
Aww.
And obviously under great duress.
Aww.
Why would Eric be under the pump?
He doesn't do anything. It's sad.
His dad,
sad.
who Eric loves, love your dad! Had a shocker last week with one legal setback after another as a judge ruled he must sit for a deposition in New York to answer questions about his business practices.
What?
His accounting firm declared his financial statements are unreliable.
Unsurprising.
Another judge rejected his efforts to dismiss current conspiracy lawsuits and against him. And the National Archives confirmed that the Trumpster took classified information to Florida as he left the White House. That's a bad week.
That's just,
Meanwhile, the right-wing media, excitable at the best of times, got very excited when Department of Justice Special Counsel John Durham filed charges against a Clinton attorney for lying to the FBI. Now, Durham is investigating what measures, if any, were undertaken during the Obama administration to monitor Trump's candidacy. The filing was made late last Friday week and left the right-wing media to go nuts about it.
I love it.
Durham has since come forward to clarify a claim in what was described as a poorly worded filing that Clinton was guilty of spying on the Donald. Anywho, long story short, Eric, the good-looking boy, got mad and sad at the same time.
Aww.
Isn't that fraud? Isn't that all sorts of offences? Eric asked Sean Hannity on Fox.
That's a real quote. That's amazing.
Where are the prosecutors right now? Eric Trump asked on the verge of tears. You know, the same prosecutors, they'll go after my father every single day for nothing, right? Well, nothing. And all that tax evasion. And the role he played in inspiring a violent but ultimately failed insurrection at the Capitol building in D.C. on January 6, 2021. Other than that, almost nothing.
Other than that. What have the Romans ever done for us?
But even choking back tears, Eric is a good-looking boy, Joe.
Yeah.
Although all that stress has played hell with his skin, I'd sit Eric in front of an LRAD on full blast for a good 15 minutes for a good skin defoliation and see how he comes up in the morning.
It'll kill the mites and the parasites.
I believe Vanilla Ice is his favourite band, favourite music of choice. He loves a bit of Vanilla Ice. And a report by Timothy Bella in Traveller, the Fairfax 9 travel section, tells us Delta airline passengers in the US heard a loud air whooshing as an anti-vaxxer attempted to open the plane door in flight, Joe.
Oh, yeah. One of the very last things you want to hear on a plane is a loud air whooshing
Ooh,
sound. I mean,
you don't want that. You don't want
that. No, it's not reassuring in any way, shape, or form. So, as reported, a Delta Airlines passenger is facing federal charges in the US after he allegedly tried to open an emergency door in flight in the hope that other passengers would record him sharing his views on coronavirus vaccines.
What's wrong with clinking the side of a glass with a steak knife?
Yeah, ding, ding.
I mean,
ding.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to make an announcement. Not fucking depressurize a fucking cabin with 100 other passengers in it that'll see them go straight out the door.
Just fucking insane. I do love the very neutral tone the reporter's got here, which is basically saying his views on coronavirus vaccines. Like, that's very neutral. It's very nice. I wonder what those views are. Just going to go out on a limb.
Oh, be balanced for sure. Be balanced.
Someone's been listening to Joe Rogan.
Let me just depressurize the cabin of this aircraft so I can speak to you about my views on coronavirus vaccines.
Sounds like a news bulletin intro. So, Michael Brandon DeMar, 32 years young, that's sad, was on a Friday flight from Salt Lake City to Portland, Oregon. Two interesting places to go to and from, where he removed a plastic covering over the handle on the aircraft's emergency exit and forcefully pulled on the handle. That's what Justice Department officials are saying in a news release. And after a flight attendant intervened and demanded he let go of the handle, fair request, DeMar complied and was physically restrained by the flight crew. That is what officials are saying. So, when asked why he attempted to open the emergency door in flight, the Portland resident told police he hoped passengers on board would start filming him. So he had, quote, the opportunity to share his thoughts on COVID-19 vaccines.
It's one hell of a live.
It's just so 2022. This makes me fucking sick. And in a passenger video, which is obtained by the Register Guardian, something I couldn't find, DeMar is seen yelling, "We're all being lied to," and then muttering about coronavirus vaccines as he is taken off the plane by authorities. Good.
Once it landed, yeah.
Well, yes.
Otherwise, it could have been a bit tricky.
Yes, they just kicked him out the side. Well, that's one less anti-vaxxer to worry about. So once in Portland, DeMar told officers he created the disturbance so other passengers would video record him sharing his personal views, which is what the Justice Department was saying. And look, I couldn't find the video. So his plan definitely failed. But this is such a terrifying insight into how things are now. People are desperate for attention.
Well, it's an act of terrorism. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It's an act of terrorism. I'm not quite sure who hasn't been charged with it. I mean, it's politicised. It has a political motive, and it is designed to threaten mass death and terrify people. I mean, it ticks all the boxes on the definition of terrorism.
But he is also facing up to 20 years in prison if he's convicted with the charge of threatening to interfere and interfering with the flight crew and attendants. So, I mean, he's up for a long time anyway.
I think he's at the pointy end of that offence, quite frankly,
Yeah, fucking I would not be betting on him coming out in a long, long time. But it is sad because, I mean, this guy has been brainwashed by assholes, he's been fucked with by grifters, and now he's ruined his life to basically spread the word of people who don't give a fuck about him. It's just sad.
They'll run a mile from him now.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, they'll call him Antifa, for Christ's sake.
Hard way to leave the cult, Joe.
Hard way.
I'll do anything for you. Money. Just tell me what you want me to do.
And today's Conditional Release Program is proudly brought to you by the Long Range Acoustic Device, LRAD. Listeners, if there's one way to make you feel alive, it's listening to that rock and roll music all the kids are talking about at 160 decibels.
I'd like that.
When the roar of a jet engine or standing alongside an 80mm anti-tank cannon fired off at close quarters just isn't enough, the one and only answer is LRAD.
Oh, God.
If you want to get a feel for the thrill of having your very own LRAD, turn this podcast up to high volume and stick your head against the speakers. Feel that rush of excitement, listeners? Yes, LRAD. What better way to listen to the Conditional Release Program than hear me screaming freedom at levels that well and truly cross the threshold of human tolerance. LRAD. Ask for it by name. Warning, if bleeding from the ears and ulcers on the mouth persists, consult your homeopath who'll prescribe wolfsbane, a whole tray of flower remedies, and a layer of aquamarine quartz laid over your genitals.
For $1,000.
I think one of the first things it says within the Constitution is all laws within
And with the sweet sounds of autodidact polymath and philanthropist Phanos Paniides resounding in our perforated eardrums, it means it's time for Which Black-Pilled Fuckwit Said That? The quiz show that's become so popular, we're currently negotiating with Andrew O'Keefe's management to get the big fella in to host the segment. Fingers crossed on that one, listeners.
Are we that desperate? Yeah. It's not good.
BYO pipe. Anyway, and if you get all three questions correct today, Joel, you'll become the proud owner of your very own LRAD.
Yes.
Which means you'll be able to listen to Nine Inch Nails, Megadeth, and Slipknot at volumes slightly lower than you listen to them now.
Megadeth? Where did you get that? I could come around.
No, I don't know. I just like the sound of it. Yeah, bit of thrash metal as well.
Yeah.
Look, but you just do have to remember to wear sunscreen to shield yourself from LRAD's death rays. You just have to remember to do that.
Sage of
Are you ready?
Yes.
Who said this? It was them and Russia. It was them and Russia. They worked with Russia.
Okay.
Was that quietly shitting his underpants for the third time today while sitting in a fallout shelter 40 metres below the surface of Kiev, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba?
Yeah, not good.
Was it he never met a pair of Vladimir Putin's shoes he didn't want to lick clean, former rep for California's 48th District, Dana Rohrabacher? Or was it, will someone get the president a decent pair of adult diapers in his size, please? He's pissed himself again, the 45th
That's the Adderall.
POTUS Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
Or was it former inmate 35207/016 at Federal Correctional Facility Loretto in Loretto, Pennsylvania, but stretching his legs again after receiving a presidential pardon in December 2020? Paul Manafort.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Now, look, I'm going to go out on a bit of a guess, but the repetition makes me think that it's big old Don J. Trump.
Yes, well done, Joel. Excellent powers of deduction there. It was
it's
in
the repetition.
Fact, Donald J. Trump. Yes, that's right. He's got a vocabulary of about 50 words.
But Tony Abbott does that as well. Repeats, like lots of pollies do it, but like Tony Abbott and Donald Trump just make a fucking art form of repeating themselves in those weird populist moments. It works. It works. It
is actually an orator's sort of skill in many ways. I'm not sure that he uses them skillfully. He's probably got a vocabulary a little bit under a golden Labrador. And so he repeats the same words over and over. Yes, it was in regard to the story that we mentioned earlier in the program with one of Clinton's ex-lawyers being charged with lying to the FBI. And this was taken...
Pete Evans is all about this too.
Yeah, this was taken as great proof, and it isn't, of Hillary Clinton spying on Donald Trump, including during the period of time when he was president, which is like, what?
That's
what's going on there?
Unlikely at best.
Yeah, a bit unlikely. So well done. That LRAD. It's been packed up into a box and it's on a truck on its way to you now.
Because I actually want this too. There's a lot of tones in Nine Inch Nails' sort of more darker music, which I think the LRAD would really bring out in a way that most consumer speakers don't.
When you get that intense ear bleeding volume, they really pick up a lot of things you hadn't heard before.
I'm going to play Ruiner through that real well.
All right. Here's another quote. It's a long one. So let me take a deep breath. The ACT police allege that whilst what are we in the 16th century here?
Whilst.
A bit of Shakespearean language. Whilst. I'll have thou understand that whilst. Yeah, anyway, the ACT police allege that whilst the LRAD device was used, it was only used to convey spoken word messages and used in the alert function mode. However, a large number of protesters are reporting back the worst sunburn they have ever experienced, including severe burns on the lips, as well as other physical and mental health symptoms.
I like that mental health is just smacked in the end there, like they didn't come with a litany of these problems already. That's why they turned up to Canberra. You preyed on their vulnerabilities, you fucking clowns.
Okay, but who said it, Joel? Was it wasting the Parliament's time with frivolous questions that border on the paranoid? Member for Hughes, Craig Kelly? Yeah, was it wasting his time and ours? Member of the New South Wales Legislative Council, Mark Biff Latham? Was it wasting the federal parliament's time with frivolous questions that border on the paranoid Senator Teeny Weeny Malcolm Roberts?
Yeah.
Or was it wasting the parliament's time with frivolous questions that border on the paranoid Senator, is he jabbed or not? Well, that's none of your fucking business, Alex Antic?
Well, Alex Antic, actually, he is becoming a real star on the right-wing media circuit. He's been going on like the Stupidas, and it was on Brett Weinstein's Dark Horse podcast, which is one of the guys who really pushes the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine. He's getting cooked real quick, and he's a real piece of shit. I don't like him at all, but I don't think it was him, but it could have been. I'm going with Malcolm Roberts, but there's a strong feel.
Oh my God, it's a crippling blow.
What?
Desire to own.
Was it Craig?
An LRAD. No, it was in fact Biff. And
what?
Yeah, Biff popped
but
that
no
out
one
in the
cares
Facebook.
what he has to say. Oh, okay.
However, I would say Craig Kelly raised it in the Parliament in a frivolous question where the rest of the Parliament sniggered at him, where the rest of the reps sniggered at him. Teeny-weeny Malcolm Roberts did put that question to AFP Commissioner Reece Kershaw.
That's what I was going for.
In the Senate estimates hearing, and Alex Antic did the same.
Really?
After Teeny-weeny, basically, where the chair of the Senate committee, in a rather tiresome tone, a Liberal herself, said, look, we've already had this question that's been put on notice. Reece Kershaw took both questions on notice in regard to whether there was an LRAD there and whether it had, what it was doing.
Yeah, was it set to like high power cook or was it set to defrost? Because if it's set to defrost, nothing would have happened.
Just
a high power cook,
just put it on 4, and then you want to whack that pie in the oven for about 3 or 4 minutes afterwards.
You've got to crisp it up.
You've got to crisp
it up. Absolutely. And you use the time to preheat. Anyway, won't go into
Well, a lot of people did get crisped up. And
so
maybe someone in the Parliament left the oven door open and left it on 350 degrees. So, bad luck. It looks like the LRAD's not coming away, but we'll look for a sort of consolation prize here on question or quote 3.
If I get 2, I'm taking the LRAD and I'll LRAD you to get it from you.
I've got the LRAD in front of the garage, mate. You come, you do your best. You just come to my driveway and see how you get on.
You underestimate how many speakers and amps I own. I'm just going to say that right now.
Bring your sunblock. Wear a hat.
I don't need it. I'm an indigo child.
All right, quote 3. It's very short. When I learned about it, I ended up vomiting.
Option A, the Conditional Release Program.
Was it? Better get him a bucket. Better make it a big one. Clive Palmer.
He's got a lot in there.
Was it star of Monty Python's Meaning of Life, Mr. Creosote? Better get him a bucket too. Or was it, he says he suffers from cyclic vomiting syndrome, but it's probably just because he looked in the mirror again and spewed. Chet Hanks.
That kid is a fucking idiot.
CVS, man, that's horrible. It's basically a sudden, spontaneous vomiting, uncontrollable.
Oh my God, how do you date? How do you go on dates? I guess you're Tom Hanks' kid, so you can kind of get away with it. But fuck, man, that would stifle your dance card.
He was blaming Tom during the week, reckon, had no significant male role model figure in his household. What a terrible...
get fucked. You've got America's dad in your house.
That's
you take
right.
that back. You take that back.
Or was it? Final option. His wife made him go to Hawaii, and we're not playing the ukulele. He's wearing out the carpet at Kirribilli praying. He should probably have to pay for that or lose his bond.
Agreed.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
Look, I have no fucking idea. This really upsets me. And you're going to laugh at me for getting it wrong. Clive Palmer.
No, well done, Joe. Excellent work.
Yes.
Excellent work. And this, of course, relates to evidence he gave this week in the West Australian Supreme Court, where he is currently suing the Premier, Mark McGowan, for defamation. And in that, when he was told that the borders were closed and also that there would be no compensation offered to companies who needed to cross the border, when he learned about it, he ended up vomiting. He also went on to say that in relation to some of the claims that Mark McGowan said of him, that he believed that, a 007 type character, and he actually referred to some of the movies, would be out to kill him and then kill possibly his family and his employees, he said. So he was terrified when Mark McGowan had a swipe at him, and that's before the courts at the moment. Of course, Mark McGowan is suing Clive Palmer for defamation in response to. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's great times for the lawyers, basically. But yes, it was. Yeah. When I learned about it, I ended up vomiting. And my God, when Clive Palmer plays the whale, look out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be easy.
You could drown a couple of people in front of you, or just you got a little bit too close to it.
It really does make you wonder if Clive Palmer and his whole UAP anti-vax thing is because he's being opportunist politically, or if he actually believes this shit, because that was cooked. So
he's just got an army of lawyers, and he just sues people at the drop of a hat.
He's just fucking mad as well.
And if he heard this segment, Joel, he'd probably do the same.
Oh God, one day.
Now, we asked listeners to send us an email if they've come across something really, really stupid said by Black Bill Fuckwits.
Mm-hmm.
We want your input, listeners. If
Damn
you've
right.
recently come across something posted that is so odd, so bizarre, that it can only be appreciated by the criminally stupid, drop us a line.
We'll send you a stubby holder and some assorted TCRP tat around my desk if you make our lives easier and send Jack a quote we can use on the show. And we remind listeners that the Conditional Release Program stubby holder is the only stubby holder clinically proven to keep drinks cold.
Clinically proven. And furthermore, the Conditional Release Program is a medically recommended prophylactic against the LRAD.
Ooh.
Simply remove your stubby from the Conditional Release Program stubby holder, roll it up and jam it into your ear. But you've only got one. Oh no! Here comes the death ray, and you're not even wearing sunscreen. Uh-oh! Looks like you're fucked. And that's why you need 2 Conditional Release Program stubby holders.
That's right.
None if you chop a reed, but most people aren't.
Most. We ask listeners to drop us a line if they want to contribute to which Black Bill Fuckwit said that. Mark the attention of Jack at our email address, theconditionalreleaseprogram@gmail.com.
Yes, please. And now we bring you a segment featuring people who have learned absolutely everything they read in a quick flick of a textbook on 17th century Portuguese maritime law. They're sovsits, and they're on a collision course with reality and a concept totally bizarre to them. Consequence. In this week's Sovsits v. The Man.
We fired you, we sacked you, we dismissed you as what? As garbage, because that's all you are. You're a criminal, you're a traitor, and you're going to the biggest barbecue in history. So from Christmas dinner to you are the dinner.
Thank you, that's what I'll go with.
In this week's Sovsits for the Man, we go to South Australia's Barossa Valley, home of obsessed foodies, overpriced red wine, and Sovsits, on a commune known as the People's Peace Alliance.
Yes, in one of the numerous ironies attached to the Sovsit movement, it turns out the People's Peace Alliance, led by Sovsit hippie Solange Goods, isn't very peaceful. Allegedly. People fuss over soft sits and where to place them on the ideological spectrum. Left, right, good night. It doesn't really matter. But Solange, who calls herself an energy coach and positive change maker, and her common law husband would have been cast as filth-encrusted hippies in kinder, gentler times. But they are soft sits now who are, totally bummed out by Australia's illegal system of laws after the pedophile police rudely charged them with firearms offences and assault and hinder police.
That is a bummer. That is such a bummer.
That's just bumming me out, man.
I'd be bummed out, man. So bummed out.
It's bullying from the illegal pedophile UN police, Joel, and in direct contravention of the International Land Law Borer Courts. You heard of that, Joel? You're a budding lawyer.
No.
International Land Law Borer Courts?
No. One of the things that is really annoying, though, is there isn't a Sovsit subject university because I would get a fucking high distinction. And also, last semester's exam paper was on anti-vaccine mandates. I couldn't believe it. I'm reading the fucking thing thinking, I would have killed this. this.
Oh, you honours.
I still got a distinction, but, mate, they would have loved it. Damn it.
Well, look, International Land Law Borer Courts is on the internet. Well, a bit.
Yeah.
Borer may be a word taken from a Gamilaraay language spoken in the Hunter Valley, or an acronym for Bill of Rights Act, which is not a thing in Australia, but it is in New Zealand, which is not that helpful when you live in the Barossa Valley, as Solange and her common law husband, Toby Lockyer, do.
Yeah, it's not
The
binding.
trouble all started when the United Nations hate cop cabal, otherwise known as the South Australian Police, who should be investigating pedophiles instead of wasting time on trifling matters, attempted to perform a routine check on the property as Lockyer had amassed a largish arsenal of firearms. Nothing to worry about there.
No.
If you've got shooters, the unconstitutional and lawful pedophile government requires you to have a licence. Thank you, John Howard.
Bastards.
And that means the UN wallopers can wander onto your property and make sure the shooters are locked away and not being fiddled with by kiddies in the sandbox. How very dare they?
The worst.
Anyway, Goods and Lockyer refused the Gaspacho police entry, blocking the property with a bulldozer and getting very shouty, even for hippies.
Yeah.
After a 2-hour siege, both were charged and banged up in the Elizabeth Police Station concentration camp.
Yeah.
Lockyer was eventually bailed, but Solange told the Wallopers and the magistrate to go and get fucked and ended up with an extended stay in the slammer. And this led to amusing scenes with Solange's followers communicating with her through the drains outside the fraud court, just shouting down the drains. Hello, Solange, are you all right? Can I bring you anything?
Yeah, it was weird.
Can I send you some soup? Can I send you some chicken soup down through the drains? Anyway, that was in September last year. Come November, when Solange's court date came up, she failed to appear, writing to the fraud court that she was a bit busy with Christmas coming up.
Busy
She was
time.
arrested again. And this time, her lawyers decided it was best they part company with Solange, who claimed she was under the jurisdiction of the International Land Law Borer courts and them only.
Yeah, yeah.
She was ultimately bailed. The fraud court suggested she return on January 31, weather permitting, but she pulled a hammy and didn't front again. And this time she put her failure to appear down to a car chase with the police, where she put the foot down on the gas at a routine traffic stop and was arrested again. The state's chief magistrate, Judge Mary Louise Ribal, adjourned the case but issued an arrest warrant for Miss Goods, ordering her to activate if she failed to attend court again, this time in April, and forthcoming hearing in April. Will Solange front then? I've got to say it's doubtful. On 1 February, she issued a statement saying in that hippie way that she was kind of bored with it all now.
Oh, my God.
They've taken up enough of our life, and we just want to be free to get on living our life in peace, lawfully, according to the real law of the land here, and the honestly informed will of the people, not the cult-distorted and manipulated information that is pushed out through the mainstream media and used to defame us, she told the mainstream media. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Every time.
She told them the cult-distorted manipulators from the mainstream media. And if Solange doesn't front unlawful and unconstitutional fraud courts in April, the odds are she'll be going for a long trip down the river, which is a bit different to living in a van down by the river. Although it could be the same thing if she keeps calling magistrates pedophiles.
Yeah.
And I left and I walked down to the end of this road where the police were, and I had my little People's Peace Alliance sign, and I said to Officer Kevin, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And he ignored me like I didn't even speak. And I asked him again, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And then he spoke into his little walkie-talkie and said, stand by, stand by. And then I asked him one more time, do you stand with the pedos or with the people? And then he said, stand by. And the 2 police women across the road rushed over and grabbed me.
And now we take you to the guts of the show, the raison d'etre of the Conditional Release Program. We used to call it the deeper dive, and then we got rid of it, but it's back. And now we don't know what to call it. So for now, we're calling it the deeper dive that isn't called that.
So we were hoping that the Canberra Convoy will be a 2-part series, but sadly the Canberra Cooker Carnival is the grift that keeps on grifting. They just won't stop. When the police kicked the cookers from the camp on the Monday, most people went home.
Sensible people went home. Look, there are many people who attended the Canberra rally on 12 Feb who retain a strong and healthy sense of self-awareness. I noticed some people commenting in social media afterwards, describing how they had tested positive to RATs after they returned home, but others never will, preferring the nonsense that they've been poisoned by the state. And of those, many haven't returned home and are living in makeshift camps around the capital.
Down by the river, sorry.
Down by the river, and living in a van down by the river. And well, these cultish elements will ultimately exhaust. The effectiveness of indoctrination has a use-by date on the self-aware, that is. The propaganda will be scrutinised, the money will run out, the self-aware will walk away, numbers will dwindle. But that still leaves thousands persuaded on the fantasy of a vaccine-driven apocalypse, global depopulation, Armageddon in an afternoon. Yeah, for those of us outside, it might sound impossibly silly, and it is. But if a person has been inculcated with this cataclysmic nonsense to the point of a fixed, unwavering belief, what's the point of having a home or money in the bank?
Yeah, true.
And from there, well, if the history of apocalyptic cults tells us anything, it is that sooner or later this cult will become a death cult.
Absolutely. And like, look, you know, a few normies had taken a long weekend. A lot of them left on the Sunday to get back to normality. But the rusted on, the hopeless, and the broke stayed on in that sort of futile attempt to fill the void of purpose in their lives with this endless protest. And of course, like you say, like start the process of turning into a death cult. I mean, like, this is where it's going.
Like that.
Especially when they start squirreling off into weird pockets of land. So look, every good cult needs a commune and the disorganized mess of sheep who just follow any command from idiots, usually from Telegram or vague sources. And of course, the clueless self-appointed leaders who are issuing these commands, they just desperately scramble to find a place.
It's always about the grift.
Always about the grift. So basically, the donation buckets did the rounds on the weekend with the goal to buy a block of land for them to settle on. And there is so much wrong with this plan.
So much.
The reality of it is they were never going to buy a block of land. The money vanished, of course, and the cookers just had to find their own way and have a refugee camp somewhere.
Yeah, they're starting to call themselves refugees, which is absolutely laughable and ridiculous and also quite offensive. Yeah. But look, if you were going to have this kind of mass tenancy through everyone donating a few bucks to buy a block of land, the legal requirements would be so big that they would actually cost more than the block of land itself. And then you've got things like providing electricity, providing sewerage, providing running water, and these things would cost tens of thousands of dollars each. So this sort of nonsense that they could just wave $10 in the direction of a bucket and everyone could go and live happily in a commune for the rest of their lives. It's just bizarre.
They're fucking delusional. They're fucking delusional.
Straight out delusional.
We had a situation where a lot of people had to go somewhere. Some of them had no money. Some of them had no means. It was a bit of a mess. And the government, short of stepping in and giving them some sort of accommodation, the vulnerable wound up following orders to go to some sort of farm up north called Cooloola Farm. Basically,
the
vulnerable
farm.
Being like elderly, mothers with children, you know, younger people, just people
with disabilities.
People with disability, you know, all that sort of thing. And this Cooloola Farm is owned by fellow cooker Ralph Hurst Myers, who occasionally runs a few bush jobs on the property. You can see that online, but does not have the appropriate approvals to start a refugee camp for lost idiots. That's just not going to happen. So Ralph Hurst Myers is apparently known to the courts, and you don't want to be known to the courts. That's when that happens, like you've done something wrong. But of course, the cookers just called him a QC. And he's very far from being a QC. He's a self-represented, which means no legal background, serial litigant who is absolutely towing the line of becoming a vexatious litigant. And that is, once again, not a good place to be. But of course, this is so soft-sit and so cooker. So clearly this person relates to the people he's housing because he is at home with these. This is his tribe, as they say.
He's expecting significant fines. He said that. He's expecting significant fines from allowing people to stay on this property without, it must be said, the proper resources to keep a group of people healthy and not suffering from 19th century diseases.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why he's basically opened this up. I think police have sort of turned the cheek on this one, but they, only for a little while, and then they'll come.
Yeah. It's a very temporary thing, and basically the amount of people that are there is quite small in comparison to the people who were going to go there. The police were turning away campers at the gate, basically because everything about this, as you say, is illegal. But, the thing is, where were you going to shit, guys?
Yeah.
Where was the water coming from? Like you said, this costs a lot of money to organise and time, but you just rock up and you're like, oh, I guess I'll shit in the bushes. There's no more bush to shit in, guys! You've shit in all of it! It's just insane. But look,
too much shit.
What's the plan? Shit. There is no plan. And that's the thing.
Plan.
So Cooloola has a few people taking refuge there. And like you said, the police are kind of letting it happen for now, but kind of not. But it's not all just flowers and COVID hugs on the farm. One Google review, and thanks to Cauldron of Bats on Twitter for this, because this is very funny, said, quote, so far from everything. No phone service or anything. The lesser of the property is money hungry and wants the property to be known. Disgusting. You just can't please everyone. You're apparently a refugee.
No free Wi-Fi. No free Wi-Fi.
Mate, how can I update my Facebook? I can't even stream from here. My followers are probably going to other sources. Pathetic. So the illegal nature of this Cooloola Farm situation has become a bit of an issue, but it was resolved quickly and swiftly and surprisingly through the appropriate channels. They have gone legit and they've taken this to the courts and they've had a win.
Straight to the courts.
Not only the courts though, the High Court.
Ah.
The block of land was granted approval. Kiefel did it herself to house the people, and apparently the judge, I'm assuming Kiefel said this, she described them as political refugees.
The only issue with this is that the court case appears to have never happened. I mean, who would have thought of it? That the High Court was just sort of sitting around. Everyone was just sort of filing their nails, waiting for the cookers to turn up on a Monday morning and say, can you please tell us what we should do?
And they said, I love freedom. Let's do this.
It just didn't happen. And it certainly didn't happen in the High Court. And the police are still trying to figure out what to do with this little Branch Davidian cult in the making. They claim to have government and police approval, but a spokesperson from both denied this because, once again, they just made it up. Yeah. I should just add that if there was going to be a hearing, it would come through the ACT Administrative Appeals Tribunal, not a court.
No.
Anyway.
Jurisdiction, all just technicalities. What are you, some book reader? Get out of my restaurant. So cookers swarmed government campsites. And just imagine camping in one of these places. This is where these grey nomads, the ones who sold their properties that went up artificially weird amounts of money and now they're rich. And they're just going to hang out and just do whatever it is they do. I don't really know what they do. They drink tea and wine and look at trees. It's just what they do. But suddenly the campsite is full of cookers. They're taking cholera shits next to you, Winnebago. And you're there trying to live the dream. Apparently this guy, he's charging $14 a night. That isn't highway robbery. That's pretty standard. It's just that you have no money because you went to Canberra broke, you morons, thinking the Ironbark Thunderbolt was going to give you a bunch of money. That's totally standard.
Yeah, $14 is pretty cheap. Pretty cheap for a van
pretty fucking
site.
Reasonable. Yeah, that's it. And the thing is, so cops basically turn these people away from these government campsites that they were just occupying as they want to do. And one video shows this cooker filming, complaining they tried to pay for a site, but the website didn't work. No, idiot! The campsite was full. There's no space at the inn. Site's taken. What were you thinking? I've been in situations with mates where we tried to go camping, and I couldn't get the plot that I wanted. And it was upsetting, but I didn't make a video about it and call the fucking police. But still, they just don't understand this because the law doesn't apply to them and they have freedom.
Freedom!
It's just endless pain. So one place that got invaded by anti-vaxxers is a national park, and the last thing rangers need is a bunch of cookers going around and fucking the ecosystem. One woman complained that her dog wasn't allowed there and made this big sad victim video about it where cookers were all saying how tyrannical the government is. Guess what? Dogs aren't allowed in national parks, and for good reasons.
Very good reasons.
You don't understand. My God, you fucking morons. Imagine these people in charge. Imagine how society would just absolutely turn to shit because the law would be basically, well, what does my selfish impulse say? I guess that's the law now. You fucking morons.
How it would work.
This is why libertarians can never be in charge. Never libertarians. The laziest, dumbest political ideology out there.
It's just the laziest thing you can think of. Where it all just sounds wonderful. We just get rid of the government. Just get rid of the government. We'll just all just live freely and everything will be fine and we won't have to worry about anything until, of course, we do when we have things like pandemics and conflicts and economic disasters.
Yes.
Fucking idiots.
Yeah, exactly. And also the fact that dogs will just be running around national parks just necking wildlife.
Just necking wallabies.
Stop it. Stop being idiots. So at this point, cookers have taken up various places and I'm not going to go into the detail because there is detail, but I don't care. They just occupied tons of places and they're just waiting for the next pointless protest.
Yeah, someone to Yass Campground, which runs on an honour system. You basically just leave some cash there. It's $20 a night. So on the honour system, of course, they won't be paying anything. Yep.
That's free.
Honour.
Yeah,
honour.
Gratis. Honour amongst cookers, right?
Yeah, that means for free. Yeah.
That does mean free. Yeah, it does. Gratis. So most people have gone home to their credit, but those that remain, are the truly militant ones. And these are the ones who have nothing left in their lives but follow these leaders and park their asses wherever they can, probably claiming some sort of victimhood status like refugees. But they're in this humble anticipation that their next Centrelink payment or a few bucks through the Telegram group is going to bail them out so they can keep fighting for freedom. What freedom? What freedom? Nobody even knows anymore. It's mandates.
Seem to be very free.
What mandates? I don't know. Maybe the freedom to get your family back. But let's face it, we all agree with this. Pedophiles are bad. So that's going to be pretty much what we run with for a while, I think. It should keep us going until the next thing pops up. But on the way out of Canberra, the cookers were strongly encouraged to get the fuck out of there. We saw the front page of the Canberra Times reading, "You had your say, now go home."
Fair.
It speaks so much
Fair
to the way
point.
the ACT is 98% vaccination rate. They don't want a bunch of COVID-denying lunatics hanging around causing shit and coughing on retail staff. It's just not helping.
Yeah, and look, I already have noticed a spike in COVID infections in the ACT, not just in COVID cases.
Really?
So far in the ACT, I'd expect it to be worse by the end of the week. And that's because cookers have turned up there.
Yeah.
I read some hideous article on the weekend saying that most of them were vaccinated.
What?
The vast majority of them are not and won't test. So basically, they wander around.
No, they won't
wander
test.
around shopping centres unmasked, and while everyone else totes the line and so forth, and they go rummaging around in supermarkets, picking up things, going, "Oh, I can't afford that. I'll put that down," and until the next person comes along and picks it up. So yes, we can expect a spike in COVID cases in the ACT, which really should be okay with its high vaccination rate, but there will be more.
They make a point of doing things that flagrantly go around COVID minimization techniques. And I mean, that's the whole point. Of course, it's going to spread the virus. So I feel very sorry for the guys down there.
Yeah, no one asked for this. They're just quietly going about their business.
Exactly. It's not fair. So in the aftermath of the protest, one of the cars leaving Canberra, which had a couple of red ensigns on it, so it was a bit of a clear gesture of who it was, they had a minor traffic incident at a set of lights. And the freedom-loving protester, just there for some freedom, jumped out of the car and started filming the other driver, obnoxiously telling her basically she's in big trouble, wants her license, and blah, blah, blah. This cooker with the camera phone had no idea who she just fucked with.
Got messy.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, you fucking bogan slut? Get the fuck out of Canberra, go get a job, and find something better to do with your fucking
What have you done?
What have you done?
Can I please have
into
your
me.
license?
Honey, you just reversed into me. I have a fucking camera.
Sorry, we're at a traffic light
Yeah,
and
you
you
can say whatever you want, and you can put whatever you want, sweetheart. The media doesn't care about you.
I'm not talking
They
to
don't
the
care
media.
about you. Oh, what's that? What are you looking for?
Don't you worry.
What are you looking for?
Oh,
Did you see that?
maniac.
Yeah, I am. So get the fuck out of Canberra, because there are a lot of us.
Good.
Yeah?
You're a maniac.
Oh!
Oh, I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry.
How's that?
You fucking idiot. You are fucked.
Can you better call the tow truck? Oh, you shut them all down and down.
Now, that sound was Chantal Fox in her Captiva basically mounting the little Volkswagen in front of her from the side. The car is stuck, and now they are stuck, and they do not want to be stuck with her, because from here, things really don't de-escalate.
Get the fuck out of Canberra! Nobody wants you to fuck here! Nobody wants you here! Nobody wants you here! Get the fuck out of my fucking here! You don't like it! I'm falling around in the oh, yeah, look at your area! You fucking look like a
And in a latest social media post that could be described as inflammatory or antagonistic, Fox says that she parked on an anti-vaxxer. And then when she was asked what happened, she simply responded with freedom. It's just freedom. That's what happened. A video later surfaced showing the 20-odd minutes before police arrived where Fox was essentially screaming at the cookers, while a few witnesses who were like on her side and not on her side hung around to sort of detail the story. A male anti-vaxxer turns up, helping no one with his camera phone out recording her, trying to goad Fox into a fist fight. This was a grown man who was trying to fight a girl because he disagreed with her and thought she was a little bit out of line. I mean,
they were all a bit terrified of her. He thought he'd do the male thing and step in, but even then he was kind of on his guard. Look, what the hell have we got here?
Yeah, he was holding distance. He wasn't that keen to fight her. But as the story unfolded, it turns out that Fox is a local chef and also an OnlyFans model, which is a subscription-based nudie site. And she used the opportunity to promote her OnlyFans profile on Instagram with a half-naked picture explaining that she'll be giving half the money raised on her nudie photos to Lifeline to make up for the money lost due to epic cookers ruining the book fair, which in the second video she made quite a point of. All the cookers are like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Obviously, I had to look into this. I mean,
research.
this was sent to us by a lot of people, and it's an interesting story. It's research. It's a conflict between a local and the cooker protesters, and I had to get to, the bottom of it, right? Well, I did get to the bottom of it. I saw several angles of the bottom of it. I had to give my credit card to access the profile. And
Bottom and top, I presume.
There's many things. Very disappointed to see the carrot video had been removed, with no explanation from OnlyFans, but apparently she's going to upload it another time, which is very reassuring. And the thing that was great is that it's clearly stated that OnlyFans was going to come up as like a pre-authorization on my credit card. So Liz has been quite enjoying with this, saying that she doesn't believe me. Sure. I'm doing this for content. I got COVID for content. I mean, come on, man.
Joel?
Look, I haven't cancelled yet. So Fox has posted a naked selfie on her account with "crash into me, babe" as the caption, which I think is quite funny. And you've got the comments in support and then a comment that are not so much in support. One guy said, "You can crash into me any day." And the other one is great. "You parked on an anti-vaxxer and you have great tits, winning at life, girl."
God.
I mean, all right. It's not exactly good wordplay, but it's simple. But then you've got the cookers who turn up and say, "You can park that on top of me any day. You'd love my unvaxxed sperm, mRNA free." Okay, charming. But then the nasty messages about her body and appearance, which you don't need to actually repeat because they're just shitty, just 4chan incel nonsense. But full respect to Chantal, who does not airbrush her photos. You know, like she doesn't airbrush the stretch marks and other things that are absolutely normal on women's bodies. And this is the thing that's really funny about the guys who are sort of jumping in and saying all this stuff. 4chan incels get really upset by this because they've never actually seen a real woman naked. So, like, I get why they're upset. Like, why does she have stretch marks? That's crazy. I've never seen that in porn. Like, yeah, women have stretch marks, you fucking loser. So, look, the comment section is pretty gross. It's OnlyFans, to be fair, so I'm not exactly drawing from the top percentage of fucking people. We're not at a Mensa conference.
We're not talking about the creme de la creme of the country here, Joe.
No, they're not sending their best. But a lot of them do seem to be coming from automatically generated nicknames who probably just signed up to give her shit in the comment section because they're fucking anti-vaxxers, man, and this got them so pissed off. That being said, I did sign up simply to get content.
Well, I think the lesson here is that if you basically adopt anti-vax methods and hurl them back in their faces, they literally shit themselves. They really don't know what to do.
Yes, they do.
And they did not know what to do when they came across this very angry young woman who decided to park her car on an anti-vaxxer's car. Yes, it was very funny. Their brains malfunction. And that I was saying on Twitter that there was like a humiliated fury element to it, which is the thing that my sister explores in her book, where you get humiliated and you respond with extreme anger. And I've seen 4chan threads that are now deleted. I should have printed the PDFs. Yeah, there'll be that too. Yeah, there'll be that. There was definitely
but just
that.
Aggressive people just saying, "I want her dead."
Yeah. I want to
they hate this so much.
Demanding someone dox her so they can go and pay her a visit and all that sort of stuff, or just terrify her generally. That sort of angry response.
Rape threats. Yeah, because they're just pissed off they lost this point, which is pretty sad. But look, it is pretty safe to assume this Canberra convoy is actually a COVID convoy. I mean, Omicron's contagious as fuck, and these people are just not protected from Delta. So it's no surprise that people who are living in dehydration and squalor, hugging each other defiantly and probably hooking up at night, felt a little bit sick afterwards. I mean, maybe you should have got that vaccine, that experimental gene therapy.
Yeah. That's kind of how infectious diseases work.
It is.
Joel.
It is. Especially when you're macking on a bloody hood of a car. As Jack said before, some of them have the self-awareness to get a rat test and just have a quiet week. But not all the people there are COVID deniers, but the COVID denial has turned up to an absolutely absurd level, with cookers reporting that the symptoms of sunburn, heatstroke, and COVID are actually the consequence of the government using secret weapons on them.
Secret nasty weapons. Yeah.
They are very nasty. So to unpack this one, the cops had established some crowd control devices in strategic positions. And these are the LRADs, the Long Range Acoustic Devices. And it's essentially just a really fucking loud loudspeaker. Like, really fucking loud. It's made in a way that a beam of sound can be directed toward a particular area, but you don't want to be anywhere near this thing, within earshot, as they like to say, as it goes off, because it's fucking loud, remarkably loud. And they don't play nice things, they play high-pitched horror. It makes people hit the floor, covering their ears, and just hoping it doesn't last long. And it can cause permanent ear damage.
It can. It can cause short-term brain damage as well, when really let rip. The decibel rate, if we look at 130 decibels, that's standing next to a cannon while you let rip. An artillery shell, bang, goes off. That's 130 decibels, and that's over in a second, and that's really loud. That's considered the threshold of human tolerance in terms of loud noise. This
Yeah.
fires up to 160. So
Jesus.
if you saw this thing go off, literally people would be writhing around on the ground holding their ears. It's not, a dog whistle that only dogs can hear. It's a loud fucking noise.
Yeah.
Very
it's really
loud.
not nice. And the thing is that police didn't use LRADs this way. Like, they did use them as a big speaker to make announcements with.
Yes, they
which
did.
is just convenient.
I saw and heard it, and it's
fine.
absolutely right. That's all they used it as a PA address, but...
It's no big deal. It's no big deal. The Cossack was making a big deal about this, and he was whinging, but I don't believe they've been used effectively in Australia to control crowds. Although I might be wrong, but I do know they have been used at the BLM protest in the USA, which really takes away the whole, we're victimized, but the left are coddled by police. No, the cops love kicking heads in the fucking BLM climate movement. Believe me, whenever they get a chance, they take it. But these devices, they're sort of ambiguous and scary looking, which is perfect for cookers who have wild imaginations to create bizarre fantasies about. This is what they do.
Yeah.
They love it. So now they're these big radiation microwave devices, which were there to zap people with radiation burns, giving them symptoms that are eerily similar to COVID. They were apparently operating at a subsonic level, so that's why you can't hear them, which is so fucking convenient. I mean, it's just fan fiction. These people are just making shit up. So El Salzone on Facebook kicked off so much of this with her post.
This is what she said. This is horrific. The burns I have seen on people's faces are absolutely horrific. You already said that. Anyway, look like third-degree burns on some people. How would you know that, you fucking idiot? So many people.
She's a nurse.
Yet others who were in the sun all day too had absolutely no burns at all. Oh, my God, how does this happen?
People with sunscreen happen to not be burned. People who weren't in the reflection of a giant flagpole.
People who don't listen to Pete Evans, have actually splashed on the basically, she goes on to say, I personally felt symptoms of the LRAD machines.
Of course you did.
They also had present at both campsites when they were evicting people. When the police use harmful weapons on peaceful protesters, including innocent children, they must be held accountable.
Ugh.
Edit. Take a moment to read of all the horrific side effects in the comments below. I see a class action lawsuit here. Wouldn't that be funny? Please, if you believe you may have been affected, God, Jesus, these people, why can't they spell? Start documenting your symptoms daily, collect evidence, and also see a health practitioner and get things on record. Oh, don't you think there's a donate now button coming there, Joe?
Oh, yeah, there is. And look, they also claim this is a byproduct of 5G towers in the area and also chemtrails. We had a Twitter user, legal counsel to the Sun or Pistol, making an excellent screen grab from Microsoft Flight Simulator over Canberra to trick cookers into thinking that he'd sprayed the area with some sort of COVID mist or chemtrails on behalf of the government. But he also tricked me into it because I saw the clip and thought, were you flying over the protest, you cheeky shit? So that was very well played. You got me as well as getting them.
Very well done, yes. We didn't hear much about the COVID mist. It was all about the COVID radiation. Well, no, just radiation, not necessarily
just
COVID
radiation in general.
Just radiation.
No. That was the thing with the COVID mist. They at least almost got it right on that one, whereas this one is just completely stupid because that's it. They're just getting cooked. But the cookers are getting cooked by cookers, microwave cookers from the government. It's kind of funny, like the cookers are getting cooked. That's kind of amusing.
Cookers getting cooked. It's hugely funny.
So the fallout, no pun intended, around this has been absurd because on the day, people gathered in front of Parliament House while their leaders blabbed on the stage, blah, blah, blah. But they stood in front of a building that's covered in shiny metal and glass with a giant metal flagpole on it, reflecting UV rays at them. You're saying there was marble? Like the marble's doing it as well? I mean, like it's just a giant magnifying
Everything on that
glass.
building will reflect light.
And just burn you alive. So, it's radiation. And I guess it did come from the government. I mean, from the reflection of Parliament House. I mean, that's the government,
we'll have
right?
to sue the building.
Yes, exactly.
Sue the Sun. Get a class action together. We'll sue the Sun, that big, lazy, orange bastard in the sky.
That is on the cards, I'm afraid.
Look, I remember years ago, I went with a friend to the MCG and look, we expected to be in the shade, but it just didn't pan out that way. And
No, it doesn't always.
neither of us had sunblock. It didn't matter because I was playing a lot of cricket and I was brown in the face anyway. But she had very, very pale complexion, and she got smashed to the point where she blistered up really badly. So I've seen that kind of blistering, and when I sort of...
It was an LRAD. It was an LRAD back then.
Yeah, back then.
It had to have been.
1980s at the MCG. So, I've seen that sort of level of blistering, and it looks deeply unpleasant. And also, it means that you probably almost certainly cause sort of long-term damage to your skin.
Because the thing is, like, the burns are pretty brutal. The cookers must have really enjoyed these speeches because it would have been so hot in that crowd with that reflection going to see that kind of harsh blistering. They're like lobsters in a fucking pan. Like, they're just casually sitting there while they boil. So some people did have the intelligence to use sunscreen and came out a little better than others who just did the full Pete Evans, just went au natural. And some of them are great because they didn't like apply to their chin and ears. So they're burned in certain spots and not in others. And it's like, oh, how come I wasn't burned there, but I was burned there? Because you didn't put sunscreen on those bits, idiot.
There was some with magnificent sunglass.
Yes, Harrison McLean was one of them
as well too. So you go, ooh, the microwaves couldn't get through the sunglass frame.
Well, yeah, we all know that's how they work.
Look, the other thing about I think it was 28 degrees on the day of the,
it was a warm
the
day.
big rally. And it was a warm day.
Not crazy.
Canberra 28, it's about 580 metres above sea level. So the sun at 28 degrees has got a real kick to it. It's the same where I live up in a high altitude. You can get fried quite quickly in the sun when it's not particularly hot.
So you're closer to the lack of ozone layer.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But 28, it feels a lot warmer. 28 feels like 35 closer to the sea. And so...
Or 3,000 according to these guys.
Yeah, well, there you go. So basically, standing in front of an enormous building, giving off or reflecting UV rays on a day like that, 28 degrees is pretty warm in Canberra. Canberra gets a lot hotter, but 28 degrees is warm enough, and certainly in terms of getting sunburned, no problem at all. So that's where it came from. That's what happened. Not LRADs, not death rays. The sun. So good luck suing that.
If you're going to stand and shout for freedom, do it at a low level of altitude. That's the lesson we're learning here. So look, the cookers complained the burns they experienced were not like anything they'd seen before, but instead of considering environmental factors, as we just suggested, they decided that a dormant loudspeaker, which wasn't even turned on, was actually a microwave. All right, cool. So you'd think the theory is a bit fringe, but it's gone absolutely batshit insane. Craig Kelly posted a letter he received where some lying clown claimed that a doctor diagnosed her issues as coming from an LRAD. That didn't happen. There's no possible way that's true. She rocks up to a doctor and is like, I've got these symptoms. The doctor goes, oh, yes. Oh, classic LRAD symptoms. Oh, yeah. I've seen this a lot recently from the protest. Fuck off. But big thanks to a good friend of the podcast at Hero Echoes for this tip. Stephen Andrew, the MP for Barani in Queensland State Parliament somewhere, posted a very cooked account of these.
Oh, somewhere. It's not just somewhere. It's not just somewhere, Joel. It's really in the sort of central northern part of Kqueensland. So,
I was assuming it was north because you don't get this cooked without being northern Queensland.
Yeah, so basically good 150, 200 k's inland from Mackay.
Yeah, that's a special space. That's a very special place.
Yeah, that's cooker country.
Basically, if you're going to be an MP down there, sure enough, everyone wants to be in Parliament, but no one wants to be there. So I can see how you can get that seat, Steve. You did really well. That's a big pre-selection push, I'm sure. So these extreme burns and these blisterings were, of course, associated with the LRAD devices, but also he claimed that he talked to his ex-military mate who told him that he spotted in photos chemical storage devices called ICBs, which were being guarded by a shady man in camouflage gear.
Oh, Ricardo Bossi, maybe. No, probably not. They were told that it was storing chemicals to put in the fountains, which is then completely ignored because he decides that the amount in the containers is clearly more than needed for the fountain. No idea how he came up with that. And then goes on to facetiously claim that there may be perfectly reasonable explanations for the deadly poisons being stored around Parliament, despite literally just basically denying the perfectly reasonable explanation. This guy's a state MP in Queensland. Honestly, they walk among us.
It's just fucking sad. You should not be there. There should be a fucking vetting process. But look, cookers are also furious these LRADs were used to zap children in the crowd. No, you're not negligent parents bringing your children to a fucking cholera camp of squalour. and then standing in the sun for hours without any kind of protection. No, because you guys are the ones saving the children. You made that very clear. It's the government that's wrong. The government did the wrong thing.
What is the government going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Take your children is what they're going to do about it because you're unfit to be a parent.
Well, that's what should happen.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see. So, lawsuit grifters wasted absolutely no time taking advantage of this.
Out of the blocks early.
Oh, fuck yeah. Ambulance chasing all the way to no hospital. Nor did, of course, the usual bullshit radiation shield types selling blankets of shungite, anti-5G potions, and an anti-radiation singlet for around $300. But it is. It was on Amazon.
No.
Someone sent it to me. I can't remember who it was. It's so bad. But the lawsuit grift is always where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky Lance found a solicitor named Thomas Allen who was seeking plaintiffs in a case. And at Sunny Sandil, one of our mega researchers, found the organisation Our Voices Matter in conjunction with AFL solicitors, yes, the guys from all the mandate lawsuits.
Yeah, those guys.
Those guys are apparently starting legal proceedings in a class action.
Ooh.
Now, so against whom exactly? What's this class action? Is it against the sun? Are you going to sue the ozone layer for not being comprehensive enough?
Sue the sun. Sue the sun.
It's time to sue the sun. But of course, this is just another platform for just another grift. I mean, cookers are telling each other to send information about their sickness to Malcolm Roberts. Imagine having to somehow give respect to this. Like, Malcolm Roberts, he's so... I mean, it's easy to be above your head when it comes to Malcolm Roberts because it's not a high bar, but he is in way over his head. He's flirting with cookers.
He just takes it on board now.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that on notice.
He knows he's got no future in politics unless Pauline Hanson steps aside. So basically, he's just going full tilt. Whatever you got, cookers, send it to me, and I'll ask silly questions in the Parliament and pop it on my Facebook page.
That's what I'll do. So not only that, but this has also spread far and wide to bolster up the idea in far-right circles overseas, especially in the US, that Australia has fallen.
Oh, no.
And I saw that serial liar and opportunist Maria Z going on the Stu Peters show, which claims the government used war weapons, including these fictitious laser weapons on the crowd.
Death ray.
It's the sun! It's the sun, you idiots! It's the sun!
Damn that sun!
I thought you liked vitamin D. I don't get you guys anymore. You tell me to get vitamin D. Then you tell me not to stand in the way of government lasers. But government lasers are the sun. I don't understand what to do anymore. It's so confusing. Be consistent. So various Facebook groups have popped up to document these reactions to people's illnesses. To be fair, a lot of the photos there were people showing these like hectic burns I couldn't find on Google reverse image search, so they might be original content, but the symptoms are sunburn, heat stroke, and of course, COVID. There is so much COVID going around from this event. It is ridiculous. They're completely untested and they're shamelessly spreading it. And these are people who just refuse to wear masks, socially distance, and stay home, or get tested, of course. This includes a report from Celery Sorbet, who an influencer we won't name, and his partner have visited their elderly mother while claiming to have LRAD radiation symptoms. It's
not
COVID.
That. It's COVID.
You're visiting your old mother with COVID. Why would you do that? Unless you're trying to get the inheritance early, and then I totally get it. That's on the fucking cards.
I can see how that might be a consideration.
But I thought it was LRAD poisoning. So, and look, speaking of mad super spreaders, it looks like poor old Dave O'Neig's got a bit sick while he was down at Camp COVID. And look, poor old Dave O'Neig's. He posted this to his Telegram, and he's clearly suffering COVID, and he's in full denial of that fact.
Well, here it goes. I quoted some of this in the Australian on Friday because it is very funny. Friends.
It's very funny.
Since I got home, I've been bedridden. COVID. I started feeling unwell on the Friday afternoon. COVID.
It's the start.
I used paracetamol to push through on Saturday, but since then I haven't been right.
Spreading COVID. Just spreading it everywhere.
My throat is like nothing I've ever experienced. Total agony. COVID.
Yeah.
The tips of my ears are peeling and burnt. My chest has an infection. My ears and eyes are sore and swollen.
COVID and sunburn. My eyes were fucked when I had COVID.
But my throat is an indescribable hell of sharp pain.
COVID.
I have thrown a full course of antibiotics at it and nothing has changed.
You're an idiot.
See, it's a viral infection. Antibiotics is only going to work with a secondary infection that may be bacterial. Anyway,
idiot.
Don't want to spoil the party here.
Idiot. And he bought them from India online, I'm sure.
He goes on. I've been to nearly every rally in 2 years and hugged tens of thousands of people. No worries. But at this event, they used the LRAD in conjunction with aerosols and radiation poisoning. This is so wrong and evil of these bastards. These are literally acts of war.
Literally.
Well, they're not. They're not. But if they were, mate, they fucking got you, didn't they?
They did, yeah. What are you going to do?
You are no longer one swinging dick in the field anymore, champion. You're gone. You're gone down. You're in the
You're
injured
a fallen
list.
soldier. We will, we'll drink to you in April.
It's heartbreaking, really. I have been in bed for 3 days now.
Oh,
I have a doc appointment by Zoom in an hour.
Poor doctor.
I wonder what he told him. Mate, you got COVID.
What would he?
You want to go and get tested? I'll keep you all posted. Anyone else sick?
Yes.
Please share more below. Stay strong, fam.
Yeah, okay. And then he went on with another post when things were not getting much better.
I'm not looking for any sympathy. LOL.
He's definitely posting this for sympathy.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he's posting this for sympathy, yes.
You're just sharing the facts of my story, which I'm sure many will relate to. I've been to 10 or more major events in the last 2 years, all without incident.
Thanks to COVID containment techniques, you fucking anus. You were lucky. Lucky.
This time it's very different. My throat is burning. Still burning. COVID.
Yeah,
and
COVID.
Sore beyond description.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah.
Nothing seems to offer much relief. I can't really swallow anything other than some broth or peeled plum. It's always using peeled plums. Why would you do that? Get a fucking icy pole into you stupid prick. Get a fucking paddle pop in your fucking gob. Anyway, and he's taking anti-inflammatories, and he can only do that. He can only eat a peeled plum when the anti-inflammatories are at their peak.
And I can just say, as someone who's had COVID, when I had my throat issues, I took anesthetic strepsils and it was pretty good. But unfortunately, he's a little bit unvaccinated, and now his throat feels like shit. I didn't lose any weight.
Yes, he's got the full blast, of course, because he's unvaccinated. He goes on. My friends Matt and Jess, good on you, Matt and Jess, visited today and bought me a care package with everything you could imagine. What about some antiviral drugs? Anyway, but I'm still in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Migraines, an unbearably sore throat, and extreme fatigue.
Aww.
You're fucking COVID, mate.
Oh.
I have my sense of taste,
You have COVID.
and I'm hungry, but I can't really swallow food. See, there's a cooker's thing, right? Because they've heard along the way, and it's really kind of intrigued them as a piece of trivia that if you get COVID, you lose your sense of smell and taste. But that's not always the case. It's just one potential symptom.
No.
I've lost a few kilos.
Yeah. I didn't.
I don't really have any body aches or anything like that. My chest is heavy and sore.
That's a body ache.
Yeah.
That's a body ache. That's a body ache just there. You just told me a body ache.
Yeah, it could actually be viral pneumonia. But anyway, these bastards, the government, these bastards sprayed us, fried us, and hit us with the LRAD. This government has gone completely rogue and is literally waging war on our people. Get back to that war. He really does love that rhetoric, doesn't he? We need he wants a full investigation. From who, mate? You? And we need answers now. You're not going anywhere, champion. You got fucking COVID.
Just stay home and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We don't need a full investigation, Dave. You have COVID. And if I know it doesn't fit your dopey narrative, but even you can't honestly believe this.
You can't be this stupid. You cannot be that stupid, Dave.
Though. He is fucking stupid. And the thing that's interesting is the comment section, aside from a lot of things that I saw that I didn't want to see again, had a little bit of self-awareness about it, but mostly not. A few people saying he had the dreaded Rona. Yeah. Most of them were just pandering to this dopey LRAD theory, Yeah. It was mixed. I'm not going to say it was all people denying COVID, but mostly. But at least, Dave had a bit of a rest because it was revealed by Lucky Lance on Twitter that O'Neig's actually stayed in a hotel for some of the time in Canberra, which was paid and bought by Uncle Clive and the United Australia Party.
Ooh, nice.
So Lance called out O'Neig's for using donation money, which he denied flatly, didn't use donation money, but then, bizarrely, don't know why, admitted that Uncle Clive paid for his hotel tab. Why would you let that slip? I guess the COVID really stopped his filter.
Oh, God. Every worker in that hotel is now a close contact.
Close contact. Yeah. Especially the fact that he probably went out hugging them, the fucking lunatic. The thing is, you gotta wonder, how many other influencers got the Uncle Clive treatment of a bit of a tab at the hotel? Freedom fighters don't get it. Freedom influencers get it. That's the rule here.
Good thing for Clive, Parliament wasn't sitting because hotel rates in Canberra when Parliament's not sitting just go down by about 300%. $150 room becomes $600 when Parliament's sitting. Anyway, bizarrely enough, to top off this story. Matt Lawson, remember him? He's living in a van down by the river.
The committee koala.
Matt Lawson, of all people, has been saying that people simply got sunburn and COVID, and the LRAD theory is absurd. Good on you,
Yeah.
Matt Lawson. When he's the voice of reason in any room, your room is not sending their best.
No. It really is a sign that you need to change rooms because that is fucking mental. I couldn't believe that he was a voice of reason. So to finish, we're just going to wrap up this with the fact that the inevitable protest happened over the weekend. I don't care. The poster said that In Excess were meant to be playing. Of course,
In Excess?
Yeah,
Hutchins' family are in for a shock.
What's left?
But it's the drummer.
Well, yeah. I mean, like the drummer and the guitarist. Well, the guitarist is out there, but the singer's apparently cooked. Basically, what happened was they came on stage and they said, "We're here with you till the end, but not on Saturday. We're busy." So that kind of ruled this weekend out. Yet they still use them as a marketing tool.
But the Kanga Guru, he was on a live just driving away saying, "We've just sat down, we had a meeting, we've sorted out all the world's problems, and In Excess are playing on Saturday. They're great.
Amazing.
They're great guys.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys."
Well, one problem is that Tim
Did
Farrow's
not happen.
guitarist missing some fingers. So
Well, he's not part of the Cookers, but his brother, I think it's his brother John.
Yeah, he's his brother,
He's the
yeah.
drummer, you know.
But
It's
like, I mean, what are you going to have? The singer and the drummer, they're doing a little bit of a fucking percussion thing? Like, what?
He's just
It doesn't make any
banging away.
sense.
I mean, it's just like the old Simpsons. Hey, has anybody heard of the Doobie Brothers? Because we got one of them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's a bit like that. In Excess with basically the drummer. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
No other
It just-
guys from In Excess.
Just karaoke backing and the drummer really trying to make sure it sounds real. So nobody really turned up to this. There were 3 different protests, 3 different routes to Parliament House. Was weird. Harrison McLean apparently chose to 7-kilometer walk. What the fuck? And gets like a handful of people because I don't know, like the intrepid fucking walkers, the ones who need to burn some
They love
weight.
a walk. They do love a walk.
I saw that another one was estimated at 200 people, and they had that shitty scaffold stage where Bosie did a speech for a few cookers, talked about some pedos, election fraud, and, the blacks. And then later
the blacks.
claimed that there was a jet flying over, which was a message from Trump.
Who saw the message from Donald J. Trump as we were marching up the road?
No.
You didn't see it?
No.
Who saw a C-130J fly exactly along our path and then do an arcing left-hand corner over the Parliament?
Oh, was that for us?
Now, a gentleman came up behind me and said, here's the track he's been following since he took off. And it came straight from his point of origin, up our path, around Parliament, straight back home again.
Oh.
That plane had no purpose other than to let you know, and I've mentioned this before, we do what we do with our modest capabilities, and there are much more powerful international forces at play that are working with us to help us win.
Oh, that was for us. Delusional bullshit. It's the white hats. It's just using that.
Quick,
straight
everybody
up-
wave. It's the Donald.
Just that QAnon language here. Like, far more powerful forces at play to help us win. I mean, fuck off.
It's real cult stuff. Look, I'm pretty sure the Trumpster wasn't on board. The C-130 flyby, Bozzy got one thing right, the make and model of the plane itself, but the flyby took place as part of the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Darwin, as organised by the National War Memorial.
Yeah.
Well, these are confirmed. These are facts.
This
See,
is
I would
just
have
reality.
thought good old Camo Ricardo would have known these things,
No.
He seems
He
to
doesn't
be
care.
seems to be kowtowing to Anzac all the bloody time. Why wouldn't he have known that plane was doing a flyby by way of anniversary, the 80th, in fact, of the bombing of Darwin?
No, it was Trump.
I don't
It was
know,
definitely Trump.
Ricardo. I don't think you're gonna make it as our Idi Amin. I really don't.
You're just not legit. You're just not legit. Too many holes in your story. So look, it's just dumb, but I mean, they're there, right? Like, they're already in Canberra, so you've got to have something to do on the weekend. I mean, fuck it.
Yeah. Once you've done Questacon, you really, that's basically it for Canberra.
I still haven't worked it out yet. And if you haven't worked it out, keep asking the question. And keep looking for the answers. Because it's irrelevant.
And we have to leave Canberra there. We're going on a convoy, a truck convoy. Probably no trucks, but we're going on a convoy, and we're going up to Craggy Pete's place to give him a wave. And how are they hanging, brah? Because he's had a big week, a huge week, and we're going to hear all about it now on The Week in Pete Evans.
And it has been a huge week in Pete Evans, with
Huge.
Pete finding himself a little bit lonely up on his sprawling Northern Rivers estate. And while he lives a life of exquisite natural beauty, surrounded by nature and, just expensive stuff, including his custom skate ramp, which would have cost him a fucking fortune, it's no match what he used to have. I mean, people used to like him. They would see him in the street and say what a great food thing he does, or whatever it was that people gave a fuck about, or comment on his nice eyes or his sort of smile or something.
Lovely
now they
eyes.
cross the street. Some don't even know who he is. I mean, he's been out of the spotlight for a while. He's just this craggy-faced, wide-eyed lunatic walking aggressively toward the grass-fed salmon store or the yoga studio. And others see him as this shell of a man, this erratic and confused rube who just fell down a rabbit hole and simply just couldn't get back up. And of course, a few others also see him as a Holocaust-denying neo-Nazi, but I don't know because I had to Google that, so I'm actually not sure what that's all about. That's very confusing to a person like me. Either way, Pete's lonely. He needs a mate. And while he does have a friend in Dave O'Neig's, he's nowhere to be found because Dave got the Rona, which Pete sees at a fundamental expression of weakness, and we can't have that. Where was Dave's immune system? I mean, he clearly has underlying health conditions. He's made himself expendable and basically deserves to die because that's how craggy-faced eugenicists see the world. Just oh, you got an underlying condition. Oh, well, you should probably die then. But it's a lonely, bloody road for old Pete. But not all is lost. What's this? Ding, ding. An email.
Oh.
Oh.
An email from the outside world. Subject, a little human contact.
Yeah, that's what I need. A little human contact.
Yeah.
Because Dave's in ISO. The horse isn't talking to me after an incident we had last week. So yes, human contact. That's exactly what the naturopath ordered.
Hi, Pete. Just read your latest post on Telegram, and it made me realise, with a Z, that with this form of media, we don't get to contact you and let you know we hear you. No responses or feedback. Just wanted to let you know I talk, in inverted commas, to you every day. I, too, am now only on Telegram and Evolve, in brackets, and your posts are the only ones I read almost daily.
Almost.
Evolve, too, keeps me afloat. Thanks, Pete. I hear you. I get you. I'm with you.
Jesus.
Go well. With love.
Oh, that's nice. And Pete says in response, love receiving messages like these. Many thanks. And look, it is good to get a bit of nice feedback, isn't it, Pete? And no less from a paying customer. That's lovely. What a treat. Someone hears you. Someone gets you. And someone is paying $10 a month to see and hear you. Fucking mint. I love this. But hold on. Ding, ding. There's another one.
Ding, ding, ding. Subject, thank you. Hi, Pete. Since listening to your podcast with Dr. William Davis and Dr. Philip Avadia, I felt the need to express gratitude to you for not giving up. With all the adversiting, I think that's supposed to be advertising, and opposing views, it would be easy to keep all this info and the amazing people you invite to chat with to yourself. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I've followed your advice, achieved goals, but currently my body is not in good condition.
Aww.
These last two interviews have given me a new boost. Thanks again, Pete, and your support network, one individual being your pup, Shakoba. Love her energy. She cracks me up. Love you and your work.
Oh, that's so nice. It's good to see people are sticking to that casual formal address of hi Pete, comma, as opposed to that sort of slapdash no greeting style that most people use these days in emails. I like it to return to that on both emails. It's strange that both of them started. No, never mind. No. People love you again. People love you again. Ding, ding, ding. Holy shit!
Another email.
Another email.
Huge week for Pete.
Goodness gracious.
Subject, thank you. I've followed you for many years and have been frustrated not to be able to engage with you on Telegram.
Bit of a
theme here.
Yeah.
To let you know how much I love your posts. I completely understand why you disabled that function, though, which is why I wanted to give you encouragement in this way. When my mum was sick with cancer, she was a Paleo Pete convert and bought me all your books. The cancer overtook her eventually, but she showed me all the flaws in the pharmaceutical industry before she died, or probably before. And I learned a good, healthy dose of skepticism of our institutions through her journey. I was, technically am, a police officer, I don't know how that works, who was suspended without pay due to vaccine mandates. Your content over the past 6 ? Has given me so much important information along with intrigue and humour. You have given me strength to stand proud of my convictions and be who I am. Your dignity in the face of unjustified ridicule inspires me all the time.
How heartwarming. So heartwarming.
Thank you for all that you do. I often feel like I know you personally, like my old mate Pete, and I appreciate the way that you connect that way with your followers. But he doesn't really.
I tell you why you think you know Pete personally. Because you are Pete. I'm calling it, Pete. I'm calling this out. You sent these to yourself. And while the podcast format does not lend well to the glaring similarities between these emails, and honestly, I had to transcribe them, and it was hard because it was really difficult to get these grammatical nuances right. There are some absolute clangers. There's double spacing everywhere, which is just weird. And 2 emails from supposedly 2 different people put spaces on either side of ellipses. Like, nobody does that, Pete. That is such a dead giveaway that it's you. It was you who sent these emails to yourself. So, as we suggested last week, we sent this down the lab. They are absolute dead ringers. The slight differences are so clearly staged. You know, thank you as 2 words and then thank you as 1 word. I mean, like, come on, Pete. Don't be obvious about it. Do the subtle stuff. But you're not smart enough for this. You can't escape it. These were written by the same person, and that's almost certainly you. There's another letter in this, but like this will go for fucking 15 minutes if we keep going. I think you get the point. Pete is sending himself fan mail, and this is absolutely hilarious. The 3rd email has several of the same themes, the same writing style, and the same blatantly sad message that Pete desperately needs validation. Jesus Christ, Pete, just turn the fucking comments back on.
That's all you gotta do.
Just do it, because this is just sad. Sure, you might have to casually moderate a few comments because you're legally liable for the insane shit that people come up with, and you attract some cook motherfuckers. But mate, what is the price on your mental health? Because it's certainly taking a toll. I mean, you can afford a few casual defamation suits. Just apologize and retract. It's la-di-da, but that's not your style. I know that burns you just as much as the seething loneliness of having no one there to fawn over you. But sending yourself fan mail, this is not a healthy path.
It's
Pete,
not healthy.
Just send Dave a text messaging. Catch up with him when he's better. Yes, he has shown himself to be an inferior weakling with no immune system, but he's all you've got. And this is really sad behavior, Pete.
Sad. Very sad.
You're killing me. How am I supposed to laugh at you when you're this pathetic? I don't know whether to feel complete contempt for you, which I kind of do based on a few other things you posted this week, or just deep sympathy. Because this is just so fucking weird and sad. I don't know where to begin. And I hope I'm wrong about this. Maybe for some weird reason, this came across as being you sending fan mail to yourself. I don't know how that could not be true. But if you really are truly sending yourself fan mail, there's going to be a few very big weeks in Pete Evans coming up because you're not well. Just huge. Just sad. And
we have to leave that there, the complete dismantling of a human being in front of our very eyes.
God.
Because we've come to an end of another conditional release program.
So
you have been listening to Jack the Insider and Joel Hill. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed our bullshit, throw us a 5-star review on your podcast app.
Jack can be found on Twitter on @JackTheInsider and Joel on @CrunchyMoses with a K. We've set up a Facebook page. You can find that fairly easily. Just fucking search for it. Promoting a podcast is, as everyone will say, easier said than done, and it makes me so upset to self-promote. So do it for us, because we look like assholes doing it. Masturbating in a mirror may have been a little bit of an overstep, but it's more like, sort of playing with it a little bit when you're on the toilet. I mean, it's just sad.
It's
Don't do
sad, yeah. Yeah, the Patreon is up and running, and we ask listeners to consider throwing a few dollars our way.
Yeah, for as little as $5 a month, mate, you'll get access to all sorts of bonus content, which we are making on the regular. It's not as high quality as this, but it's quite funny, apparently. If you give us enough money, you could also watch the damn show.
Yes. And if we get to 1,000 patrons, we promise that we will spend the money on laser beam LRADs and point them directly at Dave O'Neill's house until he is clear of COVID. Dave, mate, stay at home, please.
Yeah,
You're a fucking walking pandemic, man.
Garage, just because he won't leave the house if you do that, which is good. So please join up.
Yeah, so join up at patreon.com/the Conditional Release Program. And finally, all feedback, tips, and death threats should be sent to the Conditional Release Program at gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, even if it's simply to inform us that this podcast is going to change the name to the Canberra Release Program and literally never stop talking about the Canberra Convoy. Come on, cookers, fuck off. We have to talk about other shit.
We have other things on the agenda. Move on. But to see you off, here is an excellent little clip from James Beadle, a very good friend of the podcast, aka @ThoughtlessDeed on Twitter, which pays tribute to our trouble-stricken snapping turtle, Wayne Glue. Enjoy, guys.
This video is a Christmas present for each human waste. Moron, you are a slimy little weasel. You are just a raving, lying lunatic. You are a festering sore. You are a moronic halfwit. You are an absolute liar. You are just one dumb specimen of cocky crap. You are such a dribbling fool. Christmas. Just shut up. I'm not interested today. Turn it off, please. Piece of crap.
So that's goodbye from Wayne. You don't exist and you've been drinking urine.